Okay, I want everybody to take a nice big deep breath. Whew. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. Right, so again, as we normally do, I have everybody muted, but if through the process anybody has anything they want to share, feel free to unmute and interject if you wish. So we are going to continue talking about the concepts of the dream in the course that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. And in the workbook lesson for today, and I'm only going to read just a very short part of it, which is paragraph 1. It says, it's actually the title of the workbook lesson is Today I Learned to Give as I Receive. So what do we receive? So the first paragraph explains, what has been given you? The knowledge that you are a mind, capital M, purely mind, sinless, forever, wholly unafraid, because you were created out of love. Nor have you left your source, remaining as you were created. This was given you as knowledge which you cannot lose. It was given as well to every living thing, for by that knowledge only does it live. And I thought that was a real sweet little paragraph, and it really explains what heaven, what connection, what wholeness, oneness is really all about. And yet the Course talks a great deal about the idea of, one of the premises is to remove the blocks to the awareness of that love. And one of the things that we need to do is to recognize what those blocks are in order to be able to remove them. And as I mentioned, we've been talking about the dream. And so as we discuss some of the ideas of the dream, we need to understand what the dream is, why it came about, and what it is we need to do to awaken from that dream. So I'm going to reread the definition of the dream from the glossary index. And it says, the dream is the post-separation state in which the Son of God dreams a world of sin, guilt, and fear, believing this to be reality and heaven a dream. So I'm just going to stop there for now. So the dream was something that occurred after the separation took place, of which the Son of God now dreams a world of guilt, sin, and fear, believing this is reality and heaven is a dream. So we now align with the lie, I guess you could call it, or the dream of guilt, sin, and fear, and we forget that we are connected with the love of God. Even though, as I read that first paragraph from the workbook lesson for today, it says these were all given to us and nothing can take them away. But as we talk about the idea of, where is that other guy? I've lost my Holy Spirit. Anyways, we know that if we called this the sun, which I can't find my sun picture, and we cover it over with a cloud, we can't see the sun. We can only see what's in the front of it. And so as the Course describes it, we have put the dream of the separation in front of the sun or in front of heaven. And though we can't see it or experience it, it is there. But to the degree that we identify with the dream, we can't experience it. So it goes on to say, the sun being the dreamer is the cause of the world, which is the effect, although this relationship between cause and effect appeared to be reversed in this world. So what that means is we think, as we're looking at the world, that things happen to me. We don't get that we have the experiences we have because of the choice for separation, which then got projected into the world. It's all set up that it appears that it all takes place here, and there's no awareness that there was something that came before that that made the cause that brought this effect. So it seems to be the effect of a victim in the world, occasionally used to denote the sleeping dream. So our daytime dream, our nighttime dream, they're both really the same. And if we put up our new little dream chart, the dream chart represents the Son of God fell asleep. Now, obviously, the Son of God doesn't have a bed up there somewhere floating around, but the Son of God fell asleep to his awareness of what it really was. And it took on the identity of the character in the middle of the chart, which is called the hero, and all the things that connect with this dream all took place at the same time, all enmeshed around the hero of the dream within the context of the sleeping Son of God, who is not aware or awake to his true identity. So as we move along, we read like one quote last week about the idea of things that are good and bad are all part of the dream. And if you can see the chart very well, and I did send it to people if they wanted to make a copy, the things on the right-hand side from the context of the ego would be considered to be bad. Things on this side would be considered to be good. But what the Course is trying to help us understand is it doesn't matter if it's a good aspect of the dream or a bad aspect of the dream. They're all equally keeping us from connecting and remembering what the truth is. And so in that respect, they're not good or bad. They're just all the cloud that in front of the sun that's keeping us from acknowledging or understanding who we really are. So I'm going to read, and this is just a real short one, so if anybody wants to know where it is, it's workbook 20, paragraph 2. This is our first attempt to introduce structure. Do not misconstrue it as an effort to exert force or pressure. You want salvation. You want to be happy. You want peace. You do not have them now because your mind is totally undisciplined. And you cannot distinguish between joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, love and fear. You are now learning how to tell them apart, and great indeed will be your reward. Excuse me, and I'm going to read through that one by one. So this is our first attempt to introduce structure. So Jesus is going to attempt to have us understand a structure of what we've chosen. He says very clearly, do not misconstrue it as an effort to exert force or pressure. And I would say that's both on his point of view and our point of view. His point of view is not going to dump this on us. He's not trying to force us into this. He's not trying to tell us this is what we have to do or we're going to be bad. And from our point of view, we don't want to force pressure on us to do things that we're not ready to do either. And I believe it was last week or maybe the week before that, I made the comment that this course is like 100% anti-sacrifice. And that when we really want to choose for the love of God, it won't be because of a sacrifice. It'll be because that's what I want more than anything else. And when we eventually understand what we are losing by not choosing for oneness and wholeness and the love of God, we will then be more than happy to drop our attachment to the ego. But right now, we're still running from the storyline of the hero of the dream. So Jesus informs us again, you want salvation. You want to be happy. Well, I think we all think we want to be happy.
Marianne,
Yes.
I don't. I'm I'm, I'm,
Yes, go ahead. Well, you're becoming more aware. The average person, when they first start out, isn't aware is what he's really saying. But yes, go on.
I just am becoming aware of that at a different level this
Yeah.
week, and having an experience which, I might call oneness, or at least my perception of the peace of God. I start crying.
Mm.
Looking at that, and I thought, well, that's just the ego kicking up its heels again, saying you don't want the peace of God. You want to be this ego thing that has
Hero.
feelings and attachments, and even if it's a beautiful thing, I'm still attached to that.
Yes. And I think that's absolutely correct. But I think what Jesus is saying is underneath all of that, you really do want the peace of God.
Yes,
But the truth is, I'm still so addicted to my character, the hero of the dream, and all the attachments I have, whether they're good or bad, in the world, that right now I'm not willing to let go of. So this is my operating modem, I guess you could say, even though underneath that there is a truth in the fact that I really do want the peace of God.
But I got a virus right now.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. The anti-peace virus. How's that for putting all the issues going on in the planet at one place? Yes, yeah, very true.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so he goes on to say, you do not have them now because your mind is totally undisciplined, and you cannot distinguish between joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, and love and fear. So that's quite a quandary that we're in. On some level deep within, I do want the peace of God, but I haven't got basically what he's saying is we haven't got a clue what the peace of God is, because we think what pleasure and pain are not what pleasure and pain are, and what love and fear aren't what love and fear are, and what joy and sorrow are not what we think they are. So it's like we are, I just have the visual of scooping out of a bucket stuff that doesn't have anything to do with where we're going to end up when we drop all the attachment of the ego. And it's a tricky thing because we're really being led to an experience way beyond any of my comprehension. And it requires me to drop my attachments to the things that I cling to. That's a quite a challenging place to be in. And one of the reasons why we cling to these concepts of joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, love and fear, is because we think the love and the pleasure and the joy are bringing me what I want. But what the Course is trying to say in a rather extreme way is the way you get pleasure, true pleasure and joy and connection and happiness, is to drop the illusion of the attachment to the illusion altogether. That's when you'll experience what true joy and true pleasure is all about. The Course talks about us going to the ocean with a tiny little thimble and filling it up and saying, that's all I want, that's all I can take in right now. And yet the whole ocean is available to us, but we can't access it because we're so limited in our ability to embrace what is available to us. And again, and I know I mentioned this last week, it's like Jesus literally throughout the Course specifically tells us exactly where we are and says, hey guys, I know where you are and I'll tell you about it. And we don't even know where we are most of the time in this process. But in the concept of the dream, we think that our specialness is getting our needs met in the way we want them to be met. And that's how we calculate my pleasure and pain and sorrow and joy and so on. And that doesn't have anything to do with it at all. And so a lot of the process of really digging deep into the understanding of what the dream is in the world is to help us understand that choosing for the dream is never going to give us the true pleasure and joy and peace and love that connecting with the Holy Spirit will bring us. But as we cling to it, not to feel bad that we're clinging to it, not to judge ourselves or attack ourselves because we're not at a place where we're ready to let it go yet. But the more we connect with it, the more we can understand in those moments, especially in those moments of willingness because your life is in the toilet and you can't tolerate it another minute, that you are more willing to drop your investment in the dream and let it go and see what his plan is instead of mine. And I was just talking, I think it was Bob and Pat just before the class started, on I think one of the advantages to some of the craziness that's going on our planet is I think we're a little bit more willing to drop our attachment to the dream because it's so intensely rather uncomfortable at this point. So our willingness is heightened just a little bit more than it normally would, because we're starting to question, this isn't a very good dream anymore. It's starting to turn into a pretty crazy nightmare instead. Maybe he has a better idea than what I do, and maybe my willingness will rise to the surface and be in place to ask him for another way of looking at this world. All right, so Jesus goes on to say, you are now learning how to tell them apart, and great indeed will be your reward. But our job now is not to pretend that the illusion isn't a problem, or that I like parts of it. And, within the context of the illusion, of course, I'm going to like pleasure better than pain, or love more than fear, and joy more than sorrow. That's a no-brainer. Jesus tells us we're insane. He never tells us we're stupid anywhere in the Course. Other than choosing for insanity instead of love is a little bit stupid, but whatever, he doesn't say that. So, but we have to really get in touch with what's going on so that we can be willing to drop it, not from a place of sacrifice, but from a place of, yeah, that's really what I want now. So we are going to read one more little section about pleasure and pain, and that's on, I don't know what page, but it's chapter 19, IVB 12, paragraph 12. All right, so it is impossible to seek for pleasure through the body and not find pain. It is essential that this relationship be understood, for it is one the ego sees as proof of sin. It is not really punitive at all. It is but the inevitable result of equating yourself with the body, which is the invitation to pain. For it invites fear to enter and become your purpose. The attraction of guilt must enter with it, and whatever fear directs the body to do is therefore painful. It will share the pain of all illusions, and the illusion of pleasure will be the same as pain. So if you think about choosing for the dream of duality as a roller coaster ride, we know if you go on a roller coaster ride, it goes up and it goes down, it goes up and it goes down. And oftentimes in life, we like the highs in life, but we're not all that thrilled with the lows in life. So when they hit, we really want that to change and bring it back to the high so I can tolerate the dream a little bit longer. So when he says it's impossible to seek for pleasure through the body and not find pain, if I'm seeking for pleasure in any way, shape, or form in the dream, I'm also going to end up experiencing the pain because I'm identifying with the dualistic concept, and with that comes both the opposites. It's a no-brainer. It can't be any other way. And for myself, I think that's another helpful item of realization that when I'm choosing for the ego, I'm going to get good and bad, or what I think is good and bad. And that's part of the deal. And when I start to realize, I'm not too fond of this bad stuff anymore, maybe I'll be more willing to let go of what this identification with the ego is. It is essential that this relationship be understood, for it is one the ego sees as proof of sin. So, when we When we identify with the ego, we're always going to get the realization of what that sin is attached to this, and it's going to be part of it. And it's not punitive, it's simply the results of choosing against love. And that is what we've chosen. And, this is never about, I'm a bad person because I chose for the ego. It's simply if you're going to Florida and you just left Cleveland and you entered, you saw a sign that said entering Canada, it's a good idea if you really want to go to Florida to turn around and go the other direction. This is just an awareness. This is not what I thought I got. I thought when we left this, collectively, when we left as the Son of God, when we left oneness, we thought we were going to get a better deal. We thought we were going to be God, the creator, an individual, special, different, and I would have the love come with me. But instead, what came with me was the guilt, sin, and fear. Love got left behind, and I can't find love despite the fact that I try to find ways to manipulate the world to have a representation of love experiences, but those are never the love that the Course is talking about. Let's see. It is but the inevitable result of equating yourself with the body, which is the invitation to pain. Because again, equating ourselves with the body is an effect of having chosen guilt, sin, and fear by choosing separation. So what's going to be part of this whole deal by choosing this is the character or the hero called me is going to have both the sides of the roller coaster ride. It's going to have the experience of birth and death, because if you see, I've got the little image of the skull and crossbone here, because that's a part of the storyline of every individual that's come on planet Earth. It can't be any other way. And of course, the Course says the only real place there is life, or we live, is when we identify with oneness. It doesn't really exist here, despite the fact that we have words in our vocabulary that would say, I'm alive today, and somewhere down the road, I'm not going to be alive, I'll be dead. In truth, I'm really aligned with trueness and oneness, so that death doesn't really exist. But within the context of the dream, it sure does seem to exist. For it invites fear to enter and become your purpose. So our whole purpose of the identification of the illusion of me comes with the whole idea of sin and fear and guilt. So that's why no matter how hard any one of us have ever tried to be good people in the world, and we've tried to do good things and good deeds, underlying there was always that sense of, something's not right here. There's, I'm not feeling this unconditional love coming from everything that I encounter. And the reason that is because I've covered that love over with this dream of separation, and it is what's running the show at this point in time. The attraction of guilt must enter with it, and whatever fear directs the body to do is therefore painful. And remember that there's actually a very long, very detailed, very difficult to read section about the attraction of guilt, the attraction of pain, and so on in the Course. But automatically, having chosen for the ego, we chose to identify with guilt, sin, fear, and pain. And we are always, as long as we identify with the ego, going to attract guilt, sin, and fear in our experience. It's a no-brainer. It's got to happen. It's going to happen. It's just the way that comes down. All right. It will share the pain of illusions, and the illusion of pleasure will be the same as pain. So again, the dualistic concept while we're in the dream. Okay, so paragraph number 13. Is not this inevitable? Under fear's order, the body will pursue guilt, serving its master whose attraction to guilt maintains the whole illusion of its existence. This then is the attraction of pain. Ruled by this perception, the body becomes the servant of pain, seeking it dutifully and obeying the idea that pain is pleasure. It is this idea that underlines all of the ego's heavy investment in the body. It is this insane relationship that it keeps hidden and yet feeds upon. To you, it teaches that the body's pleasure is happiness, yet to itself it whispers, it is death. All right, so again, line by line. Is not this inevitable? So Jesus is saying, if you're choosing a dualistic experience, you're going to experience both of these. Doesn't that make sense to you? Under fear's orders, the body will pursue guilt, serving its master, whose attraction to guilt maintains the whole illusion of its existence. And understand that we not only have that going on, but we took our guilt and sin and fear and projected it into our brother. So I don't believe I have it because I really believe I'm an innocent victim, but I see it reflected in my mirror by seeing what's going on in the world and in my brother that reflects that guilt, sin, and fear that's in my mind. And since I want to be an innocent victim, I play this part and I make my brother guilty. And on one level, when I want to continue to identify with the ego because I'm afraid of the love of God, I'm going to want my brother to be the bad guy, blame the guilt on him so I can pretend I'm an innocent victim. And that's what the real attraction is. When my brother triggers me, he's not triggering me by what he says or what he does or how he acts or how the coronavirus is or, the whatever else is going on in your life. That, whatever that is, and again, that can be literally anything. It doesn't have to be a person. That is just pushing the doorbell of the belief that I carry in my mind that says I am guilty. So it's never really about this. It's really always about that I'm holding that thought in my mind. And we refer to workbook lesson 5 frequently. I'm never upset for the reason I think. And that's really what that means. But that's the doorbell. This is the finger, I guess you could say, that pushes the doorbell that reminds us that we have that guilt, sin, and fear lurking within us. Ruled by this perception, the body becomes the servant of pain, seeking it dutifully and obeying the idea that pain is pleasure. So again, it's all wrapped up in a very strange package of which it's just very manipulative, and it's always catches us in every swipe of the way it goes through. It is this idea that underlines all the ego's heavy investment in the body. And again, obviously, we have a tremendous investment in the body. In fact, we can almost not experience ourselves without the attachment to this body. I mean, even some of the workbook lessons will talk about close your eyes and for a moment try to imagine what it is without having a body. And we might have one little speck of a glimpse of that. And then the fear of letting go of my attachment to my body becomes too intense and I can't go there any longer. And yet we're not the body. How is it we can be so attached to something that isn't even who and what we are? All right, sorry about that, guys. When it crashed, my mute went away. Can you hear me now? Yes? Okay. So I'll read.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so let's go back to line 4. Ruled by this perception, the body becomes the servant of pain, seeking it dutifully and obeying the idea that pain is pleasure. So we connect with the concept of pain, because pain is a part of the way that I can be an innocent victim, whether it's pain from my body or some other form of pain. And I obey this idea because for me, identifying with my ego literally is pleasure to me, because it's part of the whole setup of the attachment to the body. So that you turn out to be the bad guy, I'm the innocent victim, and I forget that this is even taking place. It is this idea that underlies all the ego's heavy investment in the body. And it is this insane relationship that it keeps hidden and yet feeds upon it. And I think those are really unique words, because we keep this hidden and yet we feed upon it. That's what feeds the process of allowing me to be an innocent victim, make somebody else be guilty, and forget that it was our choice to separate from the love of God that is running the motor or the machine of this thought system. To teach, excuse me, to you, it teaches the body's pleasure is happiness, yet to itself, it whispers, it is death. So again, one of the concepts of having chosen for the ego is that death is a part of the dream. So no matter how good or bad we are, eventually our body is going to die, because this is a thought system based on death. It's a thought system based on who we were and what we are as identified as oneness. And so we, again, as he says, we keep it hidden and yet we feed upon it. You know, we hate it, we love it. We hate it, we love it, even till our very last breath. So I'm going to shift to another section. So is there anybody that has any comments or questions or anything before we move on? Anyone? I see a couple chats. Let's see what they are. All right. Yeah. All right. Nobody has anything? Then we will move on, and we're going to go to page text 375, and it's chapter 18, section 2. We're going to start with paragraph 1. And this section is called the basis of the dream. And as I said before we began, we have to really understand what the dream is about, so we're going to be willing to let it go. I mean, I like lots of stuff in the world. I don't like it all, but there's certainly things in the world that I still cherish and enjoy. And the Course is not even saying get rid of those or pretend you don't want them anymore. But it is saying become aware of what the cost is to you. All right, so the basis of the dream, paragraph 1. Does not a word that seems quite real arise, does not a world that seems quite real arise in dreams? Yet think what this world is. It is clearly not the world you saw before you slept. Rather, it is a distortion of the world, planned solely around what you would have preferred. Here, you are free to make over whatever seemed to attack you and change it into a tribute to your ego, which was outraged by the attack. This would not be your wish unless you saw yourself as one with the ego, which always looks upon itself and therefore on you as under attack and highly vulnerable to it. Okay, so does not a world that seems quite real arise in dreams? And we all know we have nighttime dreams that we could be scared, or they can be wonderful, and you wake up and you think either, wow, that would have been nice to continue, or that, well, I'm sure glad that was just a dream. But what Jesus is trying to help us understand is your daytime dreams are the same. And in nighttime dreams, they feel very real while we're experiencing them. I've said, your heartbeat can increase, your breathing can increase if you're being chased by somebody. And the same kinds of things happen in our daytime dream. They feel very real while we're experiencing them. So Jesus invites us by saying, yet think what this world is. Again, if we look at the vision board of the ego, we'll see that our dream is a mixed bag of a couple nice things and some things that aren't too pleasant. And that's what the vision board of the ego is really all about. You know, if you were making a vision board of all the things you want, you probably wouldn't have put the coronavirus or death on there. You'd have put, you know, the cruise or a new car or the nice things. But with this deal, when you choose one, you get the other. And that's the way this world is. All right, and then he goes on to say, it is clearly not the world you saw before we slept. He's trying to help us recognize that before we slept, or before we chose for separation, the experience we had nothing to do with all the stuff that we're experiencing now. Rather, it is a distortion of the world planned solely around, and he's talking now about when we're sleeping. Rather, it is a distortion of the world planned solely around what you have preferred. So what we have preferred was to be God. And you know, in this chart, when we chose against oneness, when we had oneness, we had all the attributes God gave us, much like the first paragraph that we read of today's workbook. God gave us all his attributes. The only thing he couldn't give us was that he was the creator and we were the created. So we decided we wanted to be created, or we wanted to be a creator, I guess is a better way to put it. And so we got this present instead. We're separate. There's a me and a God. There's everything is separate. And then we project into the world with guilt, sin, and fear, death, projection, and we're all different. So when it says, rather it is a distortion of the world planned solely around what you would have preferred. Well, what we preferred when we chose for separation was to be in charge, was to be, I've got my own dream. I've got my own world. And the Course is very specific. It doesn't say it was created. It says it was made. So, and then it goes on to say, here you are free, and he puts it in quotes. And anytime you see the words quotes, it's really, it means it's an ego freedom. It's not true freedom. Here you are free to make over whatever seemed to attack you and change it into a tribute to your ego, which was outraged by the attack. And again, the word attack is in quotes as well. So basically what that means is we have made into our brother that which we want to see in our brother. We call it attack, and then we feel justified to attack back. So it's a big setup of a dream of something that's never going to accomplish us going to peace until we can drop this and choose for what peace really is. This would not be your wish unless you saw yourself as one with the ego. And obviously we do, and so this is how we see it. But if we didn't identify with that, we would see this much clearer, which always looks upon itself and therefore on you as under attack and highly vulnerable to it. And as we know, one of the phrases here is kill or be killed. This is a whole thought system of kill or be killed. I'm going to get you before you get me. And of course, you want to try to get me before I get you. But that game is central in this storyline. And we know there are very few books that aren't written with a theme of one opposing another. Or when you watch the news, the best news that sells is the kind that's exciting and it's not about peace, because that's the dream we're living in, and that's what we've chosen until we finally recognize, I don't want to choose that no more. That's not working for me. All right, so paragraph 2. Dreams are chaotic because they are governed by your conflicting wishes. Oops, we'll put this back up here. All right, so dreams are chaotic because they are governed by your conflicting wishes, and therefore they have no concern for what is true. They are the best example you could have of how perception can be utilized by substitute illusions for truth. You do not take them seriously on awakening because the fact that reality is so outrageously violated in them become apparent. Yet, they are a way of looking at the world and changing it to suit the ego better. They provide striking examples both of the ego's inability to tolerate reality and your willingness to change reality on its behalf. So dreams are chaotic because they are governed by your conflicting wishes. And I'll just stop there. Well, our wishes at one point were oneness. There was nothing conflicting. It wasn't until two-ness or duality showed up on the scene that now there's chaos and there's conflict and there's comparison and there's kill or be killed. So dreams are chaotic because they are governed by your conflicting wishes, and therefore they have no concern for what is true. Once we jumped into the concept of duality, oneness got left in the dust. They are the best example you could have of how perception can be utilized to substitute illusions for truth. So the way we can substitute illusions for truth is to pretend a story that doesn't really exist and live within the context of that story, not being aware that there is a truth to even be found. You know, most of us, before we found the Course, were in the bottom left-hand triad, and we didn't know there was a story that came before it. We didn't understand that we were the ones that made that choice to bring the story forth. But now we're starting to catch on to that a bit. So when you wake up, you do not take them seriously on awaking because the fact that reality is so outrageously violated in them becomes apparent. So when you wake up from let's say you wake up from a very bizarre, unusual dream where, you know, it's taken you all over the place and none of the pieces and parts make sense, according to our daytime dream, let's put it that way. You would go, wow, well, that was really bizarre. I don't know what was going on in that dream. I was all over the place. Thank goodness that's not a reality. But within the context of that, we're in the nighttime dream as well as our daytime dream, we're really violating what is true. Because in our daytime dream, we've accepted this is our reality and play within the context of this, thinking this is all there is. Yet they are a way of looking at the world and changing it to suit the ego better. So we are always trying to make things better within the context of the illusion, thinking that that's going to accomplish something. And we all, I think, at this point in time, have figured out, yeah, you know, I like the better, you know, the positive, I guess you call them, things better than I like the negative. But the bottom line, again, is when choosing duality, I'm always going to get the opposite along with what I think I've manipulated into being okay for a little while. That helps me feel comfortable to live in this world another day. Yet they are a way of, I already read that. They provide striking examples both of the ego's inability to tolerate reality and of your willingness to change reality on its behalf. So again, just playing within the illusion, we're always trying to, you know, I like the Buddhist concept of we're either running towards something pleasant or we're running away from something that's unpleasant. And again, you have to give us credit. We were doing the best we could under the circumstances. And certainly with what we had to work with, that was a smart thing to do. We were trying to find ways to survive on planet Earth. Nothing wrong with that. But now we're starting to wake up to the realization again that the dream is a dream and it's not our true reality. Alrighty, so paragraph number 3. You do not find the differences between what you see in sleep and awaking and on awaking disturbing. You recognize what you see on waking is blotted out in dreams. Yet on awakening, you do not expect it to be gone. In dreams, you arrange everything. People become what you would have them be, and what they do, you order. No limits on substitution are laid upon you. For a time it seems as if the world were given you to make it what you wish. You do not realize you are attacking it, trying to triumph over it and make it serve you. So again, part of this paragraph is kind of establishing the idea of the manipulation that takes place within the context of the dream, and that we are literally manipulating this dream because we're afraid to go back to oneness. And we'd rather have a dream that I can make appear to be at least a little bit good so that I can keep this going without being the guilty party. So you do not find the differences between what you see in sleep and on awakening disturbing. Well, we don't think the nighttime dreams are that disturbing, even though they might have been uncomfortable, because we think when we wake up, oh, that was just a silly dream. But we don't recognize that this daytime dream is just a dream just the same. And I think, the last couple months are probably awakening to us an awareness that, this place is getting kind of, we're being painted into the corner here. There's no way out of the ways that I would normally deal with discomfort in my life. I can't go to places I can't go out, work out. I can't go shop. I can't do a lot of the things that we would do to avoid really connecting with and really becoming aware of what's going on. So we're kind of pushed in the corner. You recognize what you see on waking is blotted out in dreams. So again, whether it's waking or dreaming at night, it's all the same, especially when we wake up from the daytime dream and we recognize what we really are. Because just like it says, yet on awakening, you do not expect it to be gone. Well, that's one of the problems. We're not real happy about the idea awakening from this dream means it would be gone. So that's why the process of the undoing of this is experienced as rather gradual and slow, because it's not about threatening us or making us terrified of awakening to truth. So it just very gradually is this process of choosing for the Holy Spirit, or having the little willingness to choose, where we begin to connect with this, and this slowly begins to dissipate as our connection with it or our investment in it. And it doesn't mean that the world is going to disappear until the time comes when that happens, or it doesn't cause fear any longer. So in dreams, you arrange everything. Well, we don't remember that we arranged everything in our daytime dream, do we? And we don't even remember arranging everything in our nighttime dream. But we all know that our nighttime dream has to have been arranged from our mind, because it came in our head when we were asleep. Who else was dreaming that dream? Just little old you. People become what you would have them be, and what they do, you order. Well, again, I don't remember ordering the person in my life that irritates me. Do you? I sure don't. What the Course is saying is, yes, you did. You ordered him or her or this or that or whatever because you wanted to remain an innocent victim of circumstances beyond your control. And as long as you play that game, they are going to be there will be a perpetrator that appears to cause you to lose your peace, and you will feel very justified to attack, as a couple of lines before that it talked about, attack them back with justification. But the facts are, we don't have any justification to do that any longer. Even if we do it, which we probably all will from time to time, we're starting to understand that that's not the answer. That's not going to solve the problem. All right, so I'm going to read that again. People become what you would have them be, and what they do, you order. No limits on substitution are laid upon you. So we can do this any old way we want, and the truth is, we're going to make the world be something that it really isn't when we're aligned with truth. It's always going to be some form of conflict. It's always going to be some form of uncomfortableness or something where I'm going to have an issue. And on one level, we all not only love that, we require that to continue to play out the context of this dream. For a time, it seems as if the world were given you to make it what you wish. And it really kind of does that. You do not realize you are attacking it, trying to triumph over it and make it serve you. And we're always trying to make it serve us as the hero of the dream. That's the game. As long as I'm the hero, there is a me, I'm special, I'm different, I'm an individual. That's what I still want more than anything else. And as long as that's true, I will continue playing within the context of the dream. So we're going to go on with this, but does anybody have any comments at this point?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Tara here. Yeah, I was looking at something our beloved Rose sent at me.
Okay.
Each and every time you complain about anything, whether it's your body, the bodies of others, or the state of the world, you are pretending. Because that's all it is, one great pretense. That you have accomplished the impossible, and you have once more triumphed over God.
Yes. And you know, the thing is, and you know, I can understand those words, having studied the Course for a long time, but that's not the natural response in our everyday attachment to this body. But if we can start to understand that those words are absolutely right on. Those are describing how much I want to be a body, how much I want to be a hero, and how I am so willing to continue to perpetuate that because I'm afraid of the love of God. I mean, if you put it into that context, it shifts it a little bit, it softens it a little bit. But that's what we're paying. That's the price. I mean, it's like that's the price we paid by the items we've ordered from the catalog, and they're being delivered to our door every moment of every day.
So I wanted to continue because
yeah, go ahead.
Why I raised my hand or whatever is because you're not. I see you're not going to read this, and I was like, oh, it's going to cover.
I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue.
Oh, you are going. Okay.
Yeah, I just thought I'd pick a couple comments if anybody had any.
Okay, so I responded to her. You know, yeah, I want to say that, you know, I'm always responded adamantly, holding on to my idols, what's special, my roles, relationship traits or whatever, to say that I'm right. This is real, not what you're talking about. This riot, these ideas, these people, this is good, and I like it. Something in me craves, you know, and being honest about that, something in us likes it. What I see happening out there is happening inside here, okay? All that rioting, all that, you know, goings on, it's happening in me.
Yes.
You know, and how convenient to see it out there or to blame a Trump and all that. It ain't that. It's not what's happening. And I'm really, you know, yeah, I'm having a damn tantrum. I want it my way.
Amen, baby. I mean, literally, that's it. And literally, the people in the world that trigger us are, as the Course describes, our salvation, when we're ready to use them as our salvation. Because the only way I could ever find out what's going on in my mind is to find out what's going on in my world. And they literally become our salvation when we begin to factor it from that point of view, which is quite powerful when we're able to do that. And until then, we're just lost in the dream, and there's like literally no way out. Yep. Thank you. All right, so on to paragraph 4. Dreams are perceptual temper tantrums in which you literally scream, I want it thus, and thus it seems to be. And yet the dream cannot escape its origin. Anger and fear pervade it, and in an instant, the illusion of satisfaction is invaded by the illusion of terror. For the dream of your ability to control reality by substituting a world that you prefer is terrifying. Your attempts to blot out reality are very fearful, but this you are not willing to accept. And so you substitute the fantasy that reality is fearful, not what you would do to it, and thus is guilt made real. So once again, Jesus doesn't beat around the bush and specifically states how he feels about things and is telling us where we are. And he says, dreams are perpetual temper tantrums in which you literally scream, I want it thus. And as Tashara said in what she read, I want all these things I say I don't want. But in the setup of having chosen for separation that got projected into the world, of which then I think I am a character operating in that world, and I am the innocent victim character of that world, these things are doing things to me, and I have no control over any of that going on. And I had an experience this week. I went to a store. And when I was walking in the store, you know, sometimes people, some of the salespeople will be out in front talking on the phone or whatever. And as I was walking in the store, I heard the woman say something like, boy, they're really vicious in there today. And I kind of picked up from that, the customers weren't being very nice. And you know, I think there's so much upheaval in the world. Everybody's just not operating out of their normally more controlled manner. And as I look back, I had the awareness of thinking, oh, but I'm a nice person. I wouldn't do that. So I went in the store and I looked around and I found something that I wanted to try on. So I had to find a salesman to open the dressing room. And she said, oh, I can't open the dressing room because of the coronavirus. We don't let anybody try anything on. And I took the item in front of her and I just like stuck it on the first rack in front of her. I didn't say anything. I wasn't, you know, I didn't physically do anything, but I had an attitude, okay? I had an attitude and I walked away. And then I walked around the store for a little while and I looked at a few things, and then it occurred to me, oh my gosh, when I walked in that store, I thought I was a nice person. It's those other people that aren't nice. I really attacked my brother. And I thought, I'm going to find that woman and I'm going to apologize to her because I don't want to be that way in the presence of my brother any longer. And it just so happened she came around the corner and I walked up to her and I said, I want to apologize to you. That was totally inappropriate on my part. And she said, you don't need to apologize, but you sure made my day. And the beautiful thing of that experience was, and I know we share very often in the class when people have a holy instant, that connection heart to heart with another individual was just so, I mean, it's bringing tears to my eyes right now as well. So amazing. It's just like when we can drop it and we can allow that connection to happen, it's just like a whole nother world opens up and a totally different space that can't be found as long as I'm intact with my hold of the illusion and the ego. And yet it's so amazingly beautiful when we can drop it and allow that to happen. And wow, it was just very powerful. All right, so dreams are perpetual temper tantrums in which you literally scream, I want it thus. And in that story I just shared, I wanted it thus. I wanted to try this on. It was something I wouldn't buy unless I tried it on, and I wanted to try it on. How dare you tell me I can't try this on? You know, and it's a silly thing. And yet all the little silly things in our lives, we're playing these games. We're playing these, it's not fair. I can't have it my way. And how quickly we respond, whether we physically say something or do something, internally that war presents itself within our heart. And it's not a war of love. It's a war of attack, whether we physically attack or not. And thus it seems to be. And yeah, it's all set up. This isn't fair. This isn't right. The coronavirus. I mean, what's right about that? I mean, really, people, there's nothing right about that. How dare they come and take my 3 months of my life away? This is not right. I want to go do this and that and whatever. How dare it? And yet this is the game that we're playing all day long, every day in our experiences. Anger and fear pervade it, and in an instant, the illusion of satisfaction is invaded by the illusion of terror. So I can be walking along, everything's fine, and then bam, I'm in that place. How dare you? And again, it doesn't matter how seemingly silly or insignificant an issue can come up. It gets us, and we're on the floor, and we are responding out of our natural response of terror, because that's what egos do. They can't not do that as long as we're identified with the ego. And it's only when we're willing to drop that for a moment that the possibility of another choice can rise to the surface. For the dream of your ability to control reality by substituting a world that you prefer is terrifying. No wonder we have a hard time getting out of bed. Our world is just like one big terrifying experience, which we glue a couple nice things on it and say, oh, I like those flowers. And not that you shouldn't do that. In fact, I talked to somebody this week about, this person said, I'm trying to work on looking at the darkness, but I got to take some time off sometime. And by all means, take some time off sometime. Go out, be in the nature and enjoy the flowers or the birds or whatever it is that you enjoy. Because it's grueling looking at the terror that we've chosen to be our reality in our home instead of love. But don't discount looking at the other stuff as well. And take it as quickly or as slowly as you need to do so. For the dream of your ability to control reality by substituting a world that you prefer is terrifying. And again, it's terrifying. We didn't realize how terrifying the choice for the ego was. It was a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, and I didn't like this and I didn't like that. But I think as we start to really filter through and understand this from the perspective of the Course, we see more and more how many ways even the good is not really all that good. And it always comes with a down of the up of the roller coaster ride. Yeah, it's hot. Oh yeah, baby, let's do it. Come on. And then bam. Oh, I don't like that one so well. No, thank you. And yet that's what we've chosen. Your attempts to blot out reality are very fearful, but this you are not willing to accept. And again, one of the reasons why I'm really exploring the ideas around the dream is so that we can slowly understand the importance of what it was we chose and really question, is that what I want to keep feeding? Is that what, these are hungry dogs I want to feed, or do I want to feed the dogs of truth? But I have to become aware before I can do anything else. It's sort of like having a plumber trying to unscrew a really tight bolt. Well, if you don't know that there's something broken, you're not going to call the plumber and he's not going to unscrew it. Well, we have to become aware that there's something awry here. Something's not working here. This is not what it was cracked up to be. I followed the rules and it's still not what it's cracked up to be. That's when we start to question. And so you substitute the fantasy that reality is fearful, not what you would do to it. So again, we make this experience, and of course it's always going to come down to the realization that it is fearful. It can't be any other way. We've talked many times about being in a spaceship and going out and exploring in the darkness of space, and then somebody cutting the umbilical cord. And then you're just floating around in nothingness and there's nothing else and no one else around. Well, that's really parallel to the experience that occurred when we chose to separate from the love of God. We were in this total enmeshment of love and joy and peace and wonderfulness, and then bam, into the darkness. Well, who wouldn't project into the world and try to find something to camouflage that guilt, sin, and fear and pain and terror that we linger in? You know, we were afraid to go back to love, so we found the best substitute we could, and that's what we ended up with. And compared to terror, it was a little bit more comfortable, but the terror really didn't go anywhere. It just got hidden into more crevices, and we weren't as aware of it. And so we have to re-investigate and recognize what we really chose. And thus is guilt made real. And again, guilt's not real, sin's not real, none of that's real. Only love is real. But we've made this substitute in hopes that it will save us, but it won't save us. All right, paragraph number 5. Dreams show you that you have the power to make a world as you would have it be, and that because you want it, you see it. And while you see it, you do not doubt that it is real. Yet there is a world clearly within your mind that seems to be outside, and you do not respond to it as though you made it, nor do you realize that the emotions the dream produces must come from you. It is the figures in the dream and what they do that seem to make the dream. All right, so dreams show you that you have the power to make a world as you would have it be. Well, we've made our entire world, our very existence. And that and that because you wanted it, and because you want it, you see it. So we see what we wanted to see via the choice of separation. Now, maybe we didn't really have an awareness of what the effect of that was going to turn out to be, but we're still responsible in the respect that that was what set it up. And we're not responsible as the hero of the dream. We're responsible as the dreamer of the dream, of which the hero is simply one of the characters that we've identified very thickly with. And while you see it, you do not doubt that it is real. Again, our nighttime dreams, when you're dreaming in a nighttime dream, unless you're a person that knows how to, what is that where you become aware in your dream time? Can't think of what it's called, but there's a word. Anyway,
Lucid.
What's
Lucid.
that?
Lucid.
Yes, okay, thank you. A lucid dream, unless you're good at having lucid dreams where you become aware within the context of the dream that you're dreaming. Well, unless that's happening, you are totally gone. You are totally enmeshed in that dream. And literally the same thing happens in our daytime dream. And as we begin to awaken from it, we will have more moments where it is like a lucid dream, where you might be somewhat caught in it, but it doesn't take you down to the bottom like it used to do. And while you see it, you do not doubt that it is real. Yet here is a world clearly within your mind that seems to be outside. And again, as we read before, initially when we came to the class, that other dream is available. It's always been available and it always will be available. But it's outside the dream that we're dreaming. And we have to drop this dream in order to connect with that dream. We want to bring this dream with us as we come over here and have that dream make this dream look better so I'll tolerate it more. Instead of drop this dream so I can find out what this is. Yet do not respond to it, you do not respond to it as though you made it, nor do you realize that the emotions the dream produces must come from you. Well, I sure don't remember making it, and I sure don't remember ordering all the emotions that are experienced within the context of that dream. But I do know for sure in my experience that I've had the opportunity to use those emotions to really make it feel absolutely real. No question. This is happening. I'm experiencing it, and it's something or somebody else's fault, not mine. And as we know through the practice of the Course, it's constantly trying to take us back and remind us that's your experience, no question. Well, wait a minute. There's something behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, that's making this happen. And that's what you chose. And now you're seeing the effects of that choice. It is a...
Marianne?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This is Zita.
Hi, Zita.
Hi. I appreciate what you're saying. You mentioned the example of going to a store and not being able to try things on. And I know I make my world every time I choose an attitude or choose a judgment. So I may not remember long ago in the dream, but I do know when I created certain attitudes, responses, as a conscious adult.
Right.
And so there's a saying in 12-step programs that expectations are premeditated resentments.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so, yeah, I just came from Parma and I was going to a bank over there, and I only had like 6 minutes left to get there, and I was going to make it. But when I turned the corner, there was a big demonstration, and the police were blocking off all the streets. So, and they, in fact, had closed the bank. And so for like 5 seconds, I'm like, okay, this is not what I want. So I asked the police officer to escort me so I could go to the bank.
Yeah.
But he said, no, I don't think that's going to work because it's closed. And what ended up happening was I ended up finding a way to get into the parking lot in spite of them, but it was really closed. He was right. And so I said, okay, this is something else. Drop this, but get something else. So I just sat down and listened for a while, and then I left.
Right.
But that's a world I made that could have been a lot. I could have still been angrier, whatever. But
oh gosh, right. And probably in the past you probably were, and I think that's the beauty
right.
of this practice, whether it's a 12-step program or the Course. To constantly become more conscious of, oh, there I go again. Wait a minute, is that really where I want to put my energy? Not just for the world, but for myself. I mean, every time we do one of those, we're, raising our blood pressure, and we're exploding inside, let alone what we're doing on the outside sometimes. And is that what I want to contribute to the world now? Is that how I want to be present in the world? And we have to become aware that we're up to that, first of all, and then begin to re-question it. And it takes practice, because we're addicted to responding with kill or be killed. I can't say that enough. The very fact that any one of us can find a place of peace or settlement in the midst of a chaotic experience, even for a second, is a miraculous experience, guys, a miraculous experience. And it takes great practice and diligence to undo that addiction. And we know, let's say I write with my right hand and I break it, and I have to now learn how to write with my left hand. I don't like change. I don't like to have to do this. And how dare the fact that I broke my hand in the first place, and now I've got to do something different. It's a process, but we're capable of it if our desire becomes strong enough. And the shift that occurs is well worth the effort when we finally can come to it. But it definitely takes practice.
So Marianne.
Yes.
I find that I seek distractions.
Absolutely.
I really seek distractions, and it takes me a while to try to even slow my mind down, because it's going a mile a minute, like underneath the surface. And I tell myself that there is no past, there is no future. I try to basically block off those thoughts in my mind to try to regain some sense. But then when I get into the emotion, or maybe that's a Freudian slip, get into the moment, I find myself overwhelmed.
Yep. Well, it sounds like you're seeking to come to that place of peace, but there's parts of you that are just not quite at that place yet. And so there's that even conflicting experience of wanting it, but not being able to accept it. And, be very aware that, you call them distractions, whether it be distractions or things of the world, they're there as a security blanket for us right now because we're too afraid of that love and that oneness and that connectedness. So they're really providing a beautiful service for us at this time. And we're not going to go from having this be providing me that service and then just wipe the curtain away and then just be over here. It's going to be a process of back and forth where we slowly, this decreases and this increases in our ability to accept it. And so I would just say, observe it, smile at it, go, oh, there I go again. I'm being distracted. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I don't really want this quite as much as I think I want this, because to the degree we're still addicted to this, we really just don't want this yet. It's just it's a no-brainer situation. But as we continue to do it, and, I often think of it as this whole process is to recognize I'm here, drop it and choose for this. And we always want an effect to be shown to us, or a projection or perception or reflection of love. It's not always going to show up that way. And if it does, I always call that the frosting on the cake. But our job is to just do this as frequently as we can, gently as we can, and as often as we can, without any investment of what the effects of that are going to be. And eventually, we will want this more than we will want this, and we'll drop that, and that will be our home. But we can't push it, we can't force it, we can't make it happen, but we can allow it to happen by our continual willingness to keep stepping forward.
Mary Ann, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's interesting because ego jumps in and it wants to hurry. Like you're in a mud hole, and if you're stuck in a mud hole, and you have to gradually go back and forth to move out of it. Yes. But ego wants it. I want it thus.
Yes. Yeah. Not only do I want it thus, I want the outcome of my choice when I do it the right way to look a certain way according to me. And that's really none of our business. Our job is to drop it and choose. What happens, in fact, in the teacher's manual, it talks about the idea of when it happens or how it happens, literally is none of our business. Our job is to just keep on asking and keep on asking. And I know, as a good little ego that I am, I want results, man. And I want them now, and I want them my way. And guess who's in charge when I'm coming from any of those places? It's me. Even if I'm evaluating how well I did or didn't do something, it's me that's in charge. And, that's just part of the process. And just keep on sticking with it, guys. And I understand how frustrating it can be, because so often we work so hard with seemingly no results at all. And then all of a sudden, the skies will open up and everything will be like skating on a beautiful pond that is smooth as ice. And then the next thing will come and hit you. Yes,
and the other thing is that, seeing everything as it is, when things get really exaggerated, that means something has happened. Something has been disturbed. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a good sign. Yeah. It looks scary and it seems overwhelming, but it's a sign that something's been disturbed and something is reacting here.
Yes, yes. And I like to think of it, if you have a closet and you've just crammed all kinds of stuff in that closet for years, and you have to push your hand in to close the door even. And then one day you finally go, okay, this is it. I'm going to clean that closet. Well, cleaning the closet is not pretty. You've got a pile for Goodwill. You got a pile for, I'm going to keep that. They got a pile I'm going to give to them. I got this. And so now, instead of your closet being a mess, your entire house is a mess. But you are doing absolutely everything you need to do to clean that closet. And in a lot of ways, that's how this gets played out as well. We're literally cleaning the closet, and only it's looking like it's getting a little messier around everywhere I'm looking. But literally everything is working out just fine, as long as I don't let my ego tell me how well I'm doing, because it will never tell me I'm doing well. It will always tell me, look at the mess you've made now, because it's not our buddy, it's our anti-buddy. And again, the ego's just doing what it does because we ordered it to do it. So it's not an entity outside of us that we have to point a finger at. It's simply doing what we asked it to do. And now we're simply saying, I don't want to do it that way anymore. I want to do it this way. And that's when that shift will take. Instead of saying, I want it thus, I will say, I'm willing to allow it not to be thus. You show me. And that's when the healing process really starts to occur.
So that's when we begin to say, I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, beautiful words. Yes. Well, and the best part is we don't know. So it's like we're really coming home to the idea of I don't know, which we didn't know before. We just thought we were supposed to know, or we thought we did know. And so we're always efforting on our part of trying to figure it out.
Like your other diagram that I love, I refer to a lot, that blank, the blank.
The cloud or this
Wow.
one?
Yeah, I can't stand the emptiness.
No,
I'm afraid.
oh my God, it's terrifying where we're sitting right now. We have absolutely positive, we don't even have an inkling of a clue of how terrifying this is. No wonder we cling to this. No, it's a no-brainer until we don't need to cling to this any longer. But we need to honor ourselves if this is what I need to cling to right now. And not hate ourselves, simply recognize, okay, I'm not ready to let this go. Not good or bad, just the facts of where I'm sitting right now. And the more we can do that, and you can always, at the end of that statement, and I'll say the statement again, I'm not ready to let this go yet. You can always add, okay, but Holy Spirit, show me how to get to the point where I am. Because that way you're being brutally honest with where you are. And again, with Jason's comment, I'm distracted. Well, right now I'm distracted. Okay, Holy Spirit, show me how to come to the point where I'm not so distracted. Stop. Not good or bad, it's just the facts of what's happening right now. That we acknowledge where I am, and I'm willing to open the door to another possibility. And that's all we're being asked to do. But don't deny that you're in that place where you want to be distracted, because obviously you are being distracted, or you'd rather go shopping than open up your book, or whatever it happens to be that is pulling you more than your connection with the love of God. And I would say probably one of the most used phrases Ken had, not that he didn't have a whole bunch that he used a lot, but one of them was, recognize how much you don't want this, as Helene said earlier. Initially we don't realize we don't want this. I think, oh, all I want's the love of God. Where are you, baby? But that's not the truth. And to acknowledge that and be okay with it even. And again, if we really put that into the awareness that the reason why I don't want the peace of God is because I'm terrified of it. Again, terrified. I don't want a nothing. I want a little something. Give me something to hold on to. Where's the railing? And, I know I've shared this many times at the end of Ken's classes when he did this chart. Oftentimes, years ago, he had it on a eraser board and he would start erasing it. And I can remember very consciously, internally, well, don't you be erasing my world, dude. I'll come back next month and go to another class, but don't be erasing my world. Because I knew unconsciously inside me, that's really what I was attached to. And that's where I was. It's not good or bad. It just is where I am. But there's also that internal call within that's saying, the voice that's constantly calling, come on home, come on home. It's okay. It's going to be great. But I don't trust that. And to the degree I don't trust that, there's no way I'm going to go there. Until I do.
Marianne.
Yeah.
Marianne, I feel like a hypocrite,
Good.
because I am, right? I mean, I'm
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but it really feels that way because, you know, I'm focusing on the course for a couple hours a week, you know, sitting here with you. And then during the week, you know, I'm just seeing myself distracted and then trying to, it's like I don't know, trying to gasp for water, gasp for air in water or something like that. It just seems like
Yeah.
do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, Jason. You have no idea how much I know what you're talking about. Yes, but think about, you know, and sometimes spiritual people will even use this as a reference point. It's like the moth that's being drawn to the light. The moth seeks the light, but if he touches the light, he's going to be dead. Well, that's kind of where we're coming from. It's like we want it, we don't want it. Yes, I want it, but then I'm distracted. And you know, there's so many bazillions of ways that we can be distracted. You know, we got to give ourselves a little credit here. I mean, it's overwhelming how many ways we can be distracted in the world. And it's just like this, hey, that's the process it's going to take. And you say you're a hypocrite, but it's not really exactly from that perspective, because again, we are this, okay? We are this. And this is always there, and it underlines no matter how many piles of things. You know, I just got the visual of the Princess and the Pea, where, you know, she had all those mattresses, but she could still feel the pea. And it's like, we can still, we still know that call, that voice from God is there, but we're just so bombarded by the distractions of the world, which we put there because we're still afraid of that love. And so we teeter back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And, you know, we set this up so well, so well. It's so ironclad. So, and again, try to think of it from this perspective, Jason. You know, choosing for the ego brings all this. Okay, so we're literally being asked to look at what choosing for the ego brings. And we could write distractions in big letters here because it would fit just as well as all these. That's what we got when we ordered this package. So observe yourself and go, oh, there goes Jason again, distracted in another thing. Oh, this one only took 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks, or, you know, took 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks. And just smile at it and then bring yourself back to peace to the best of your ability. And remember, guys, it doesn't matter how long you've been off the track or under what circumstances. Remember, you're on a tightrope. And if you fall off this way, you straighten yourself up. If you fall this way, you straighten yourself up. But try to do that as quickly as possible. Don't let it fall and then you fall off and then you have to pull yourself back up and, you know, take care of the wounds and the blood and everything like that, and then put yourself back on the tightrope and start again. The more we can go, oh, there I go again. Oop, there I go again. Oop, there I go again. And just make it a very gentle, kind, loving refocusing of, oh, I forgot, now I can remember. I forgot, I can remember. And you're no more a hypocrite than everyone else on this planet, boy.
And loving and learning and coming to love all of it.
Absolutely.
Coming to embrace all of the hypocrite, the liar,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
the bitch.
The whole deal. And we're all of those, literally. And the more we recognize and acknowledge and accept, all of those is what make up the ego. You know, there aren't any nice words in the ego vocabulary. They're all ugly. And owning that I'm in a belief system that believes these are me is the way we can eventually drop them and let them go. But if I hide one of them under the carpet or under the rocks or whatever, I'm saying, oh no, that one's just too bad for me to bring out and have you help me to heal.
And thus I'm saying that that's real. That's more real. We're going back to that saying.
Yes, ma'am.
What
Yes.
I've made up is real, is more real.
Absolutely correct. And
than the
that's right, absolutely, and a great point to bring up. What I made up is real. Not only is it real, but it's more real than what he has to offer, unquestionably. And that's the whole trap of staying enmeshed in the ego as well. And it works. You know, it's a good program.
Somebody left a message on the phone.
time to mute it.
Marianne?
Yeah.
Would you say that, because I find myself distracted a lot.
Yep.
Would you say is distractions are just the ego or whatever being afraid of God's love?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
On a very subconscious level. I mean, we're not aware necessarily that
Right.
oh, this distraction represents my fear of the love of God. But ultimately, everything of the ego is a distraction that is our, I guess you could call it safety device, because we're terrified of the love of God. Because, you know, think about it. If we would all look at these charts and say, yeah, I want to be over here. And the very fact that we haven't chosen this represents I want this more than I want that. Not good or bad, just the facts of what's going on right now. And
Okay.
when I use the practice of the Course to have the little willingness whenever I can't tolerate what's going on in the world, and I begin to choose more and more for the right side, then this becomes less solid, and it won't be able to pull you into those distractions as often or as long as it used to.
Okay.
And it slowly dissipates. And I do say slowly, at least in my experience. I don't know about everybody else. I'm just talking about mine.
Most things aren't with a light switch you can just turn off and on.
Well, I mean, technically it is that easy, but because we're so addicted, you know, it's just like, let's say somebody's got this horrible cough and they smoke, and the doctor says, you know, just give up cigarettes. Well, you know, that's okay. Where's the switch? Just turn off. Yeah,
Right.
I can do that. But we're so addicted to this thought system. And you know, if you think about little kids drawing a picture and they bring it home and they want mom to put it on the refrigerator, and mom could look at it and go, I don't even know what this is. Tell me about this, you know. And the child tells this wonderful story about what that's all about. Well, the child doesn't want mom to ever throw that picture away, because I made it. We made this. We have great value in what we made. It is our buddy. So we can't make it happen faster than it can happen. We have to allow it to kind of fall away as we keep choosing. And it literally will start to fall away. It may take, you know, seemingly from our perspective, a long time before that actually happens. But as we practice, it will slowly dissipate, and our desire will become stronger to listen to the voice of God instead. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Helene, I see your hand is raised. Did you have something you wanted to say? I don't know. Helene?
No, that was a while ago and I forgot.
Okay, well, if you come up with it again, let me know. Sorry about that. All right, so the last line in paragraph 5 is, it is the figures in the dream and what they do that seem to make the dream. So again, not only the figures in the dream seem like they make the dream, you know, they are the problem. I am not. You know, it's the coronavirus that's the problem. It's not me. I didn't do this. It's the dangers in the world. They're the ones that take my peace away. And the Course is extremely, what's the word I'm looking for? Says that if you lose your peace, it can never have anything to do with what's happening in your world. It has to do with the fact that we've chosen for the ego. That's where it lies. No matter how much we can point our finger at any specifics in the world and say, but yesterday I was fine until such and such happened. It must be that. It can't possibly not be that. And the facts are that wouldn't have affected you had you been in your right mind. So if anything affects us, anything, big, small, or in between, it's because we've chosen to identify with the ego instead of truth. All righty, on to paragraph number 6. The Holy Spirit, ever practical in his wisdom, accepts your dreams and uses them as means for awakening. You would have used them to remain asleep. I said before that the first change before the dreams disappear, you know what? Sorry about that. I didn't finish on paragraph 5. When I was copying it, I messed up a little bit. So we're on line 6, paragraph 5. I apologize for that. You do not realize that you are making them act out for you, for if you did, the guilt would not be theirs, and the illusions of satisfaction would be gone. In dreams, these features are not obscure. You seem to awaken and the dream is gone. Yet what you fail to recognize is that what caused the dream has not gone with it. Your wish to make another world that is not real remains with you. And what you seem to awaken to is but another form of this same world you see in dreams. All your time is spent in dreaming. Your sleeping and your waking dreams have different forms, and that is all. Their content is the same. They are your protest against reality and your fixed and insane idea that you can change. Your waking dreams, the special relationship, has a special place. It is the means by which you try to make your sleeping dreams come true. From this, you do not waken. Special relationship is your determination to keep your hold on unreality and to prevent yourself from waking. And while you see more value in sleeping than in waking, you will not let go of it. All right, so you do not realize that you are making them act out for you, for if you did, the guilt would not be theirs, and the illusions of satisfaction would be gone. So if we realized everything, every character, every situation in the dream is acting out exactly as I wished it to be acted out, and again, via the choice for the ego, where I now, instead of going back home because I'm afraid, project my guilt, sin, and fear into my brother so that I can play the part of an innocent victim. So I make my brother the bad guy so I can be the innocent victim. And again, my brother can be anything in the dream that seems to be outside me, including my own physical body, by the way, because the pain or difficulties with our bodies are equally the same as any one of these. But I set it up that way so they become my guilt and I'm the innocent victim of that guilt. Not me, something outside of me has caused this to happen. And that's how we keep the illusion going over and over. In dreams, these features are not obscure. You seem to waken and the dream is gone. Okay, so at nighttime you have a dream, you wake up in the morning and it's gone. Yet what you fail to recognize is that what caused the dream has not gone with it, because the mind of the dreamer that dreams the nighttime dream and the mind of the dreamer of the daytime dream is all coming from the same mind. We have that pretend dream at night. When I wake up, the dream goes away, but I awaken to this other dream that still goes on and I still am attached to and I still believe is real. Your wish to make another world that is not real remains with you. So even though the nighttime dream is gone, the daytime dream takes over. Because I need a dream of which to place my guilt so that I can play the innocent victim or the hero of this dream. And what you seem to awaken to is but another form of the same world you see in dreams. So again, in some of the workbook lessons, Jesus will even tell you to close your eyes and imagine things that are in your thinking, and then he'll have you open your eyes and experience the things that you see or hear in the world. And he wants us to understand that either one of our daytime dreams, our nighttime dreams, what happens when I close my eyes, are all coming from the same mind, and that mind is separated. So everything is going to be projection of that separation. Your sleeping and your waking dreams have different forms, and that is all. So again, they may appear to be somewhat different at times, but the same thing is going on. The same mind is making the experience that we're having. Their content is the same. And what's the content? The content is the belief in guilt, sin, and fear as a result of choosing against love. The only effect that one could ever have when they choose against love is guilt, sin, and fear, death, separation, and all the other wonderful attributes of this wonderful dream we're experiencing. That we think some of it's nice and some of it's not nice, but it's all still part of that dream. They are your protest against reality. Ooh, I like that. Protest. We're protesting just like the protesters are, right? But we're protesting against our reality and your fixed and insane idea that you can change it. And what that means is, as the Son of God who believes he's separated, we literally believe that we have control of changing the true reality. And so we think we're hot stuff, literally. We think we've taken what God has done, we've covered it over, and ours is more powerful. We can have that experience, but that's not the facts. Your waking dreams, the special relationship, has a special place, or I guess what was it? Read the line, somebody. I didn't get the whole line when I typed it.
Your sleeping and waking dreams have different forms, and that is all. Their content is the same. They are your protest against reality and your fixed and insane idea that you can change it.
Okay, what's the next line?
In your waking dreams, the special relationship that?
Yeah. Okay, yes, I just forgot in, so it didn't make sense. Okay, you're in your waking dreams, the special relationship has a special place. And boy, is that ever true. And what is a special relationship? It is something outside me that appears to have taken my peace away. But I was at peace until thus showed up and presented itself in whatever form it has presented itself. And again, that special relationship can equally be part of your connection with your own body. It is the means by which you try to make your sleeping dreams come true. Special relationships are one of the foundational concepts in the course, and it doesn't matter if it's a special hate relationship or a special love relationship. It's a relationship outside me that's going to either fix me or it's going to take away from me, but they're both using a substitute for the love of God within the context of the world that's going to feed me, because I've got to feed myself, because God won't feed me as long as he believes I'm separate. But he's just over there loving us and nothing really has happened. But we're finding substitutes to survive in the planet. All right, so it means it is the means by which you try to make your sleeping dreams come true. From this, you do not waken. So as long as we continue to play in the dream, make the dream or the world real, and we accept that it is something outside me that is causing me to lose my peace, I don't want to awaken. And I can sit in my chair as Mary Ann and repeat the mantra, I want to awake, I want to awake, I want to awake, I want to awake, until I turn purple. But until I stop making my brother guilty to prove that I'm innocent, the facts are I don't want to awaken from the dream. I want the dream to rule me, and it will continue to rule me. All right, so the special relationship is your determination to keep your hold on unreality and to prevent yourself from awakening. And so as long as we're deeply seated in the dream, the facts are we'd rather have the dream than we would have the truth be revealed to us. And we have to just start from where we are. And again, it's not a judgment on the part of the Holy Spirit or Jesus or God. It's simply he wants us to understand where we're sitting, because if we understand where we're sitting, then there's a possibility to move from there. But as long as I deny that I'm the one that set this up, then I can't go on, because it's somebody else's fault. And nobody else could be the fault unless I projected into them and made them appear to be the fault so that I could play the part of an innocent victim. And while you see more value in sleeping than waking, you will not let go of it. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, we are all still finding more value in being asleep than we do in being awakened. And that's just the facts, not good or bad, just where we're sitting. Till we wake up to the point where one day we go, you know what? I think I've had enough of this and I'm ready to find out another way. And, you know, even at that moment, that doesn't make it poof go away. In fact, that's step one. That's the ladder on the right building. But now I have to climb, because now the universe is going to continue to confront me with all the things I've ordered. And it's going to say, so do you believe in truth in the midst of this? And how about this? And how about that? And how about that? And we'll get tripped up many times in many ways and get pulled back into the illusion, whether it's from good things or from seemingly negative things, because that's the way the illusion has been set up. And it's really good at its job, only because we've given it that power. Okay, Charlie?
And yeah, what my experience has been that, you know, it's like I'm clothed with all these concepts, and they're coming, you know, they come up through my brother, my experiences, you know, do you believe this? You know, and what I'm listening to is, as Ken would say, the drudge of my own, of what I'm telling myself, of my beliefs. I'm a terrible person. I just had someone, oh, you're incompetent. You know, you're a liar, you're a cheat, you're this. And, you know, it's coming up on the screen to show me, and according to my attachment, how much I have invested in it, I either, what is it? What does the Course say about, do everyone you find yourself or lose yourself? So here it is for me to, again, look at.
Yes. And the beauty of every time one of these comes up, you know, again, the Course is very specific. Our brother, if we use the Course to heal, is our salvation. Because every one of those things that come up and slap you in the face is an opportunity to use it from the Course's perspective, other than the way we set it up. So that's a representation. My piece just got taken away. How dare they say that, which is where we're going to start. But then bring it back to, wait a minute, there must be something within me, an attraction point within me that still believes I'm not worthy of the love of God, or that could not disturb my peace. And I like to give the example of if somebody walked up to Tashara, and she spoke, I'll pick on her, and said, Tashara, you're 8 feet tall and you have purple hair. Tashara would look at me like I was some kind of a nutcase. But if I said something to Tashara, like, you're incompetent, well, Tashara's all over the place with that one, because that rings a bell. Whether she's even conscious of it or not, there's some attraction point within Tashara that resonates with that comment, or it would not have taken her peace away. So if we can, you know, go through our contortions of being upset or whatever we do, and then take a couple deep breaths and start to process through the understanding of the Course, and re-examine it and go, okay, now wait a minute, back to the drawing board. What in me still needs to be healed, that this can take my peace away? And you don't even have to be looking for a specific thing. It's just knowing, bringing it back to that center of Holy Spirit. There's still some attraction in this that I'm not aware of. I want to find out how to heal this. Show me how to do this. And keep bringing it back to that, because He sees you as completely as love. In fact, there's, you know, these beautiful lines in there where it says, He's always seen you as love, will always see you as love, and the only thing you are is love. Well, if Tashara takes in a comment that says she's not worthy, or she's not capable, or she's, fat or ugly or stupid, or it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if that's coming from somebody outside of us or we're saying it to ourselves. Those are beliefs that I'm not worthy to be loved by God. Not because God has put them on us, but because we have accepted those as our reality. And when we can really begin to examine that, take every one of those issues that are being presented or brought up to the surface by our brother, or our own mind thoughts of popcorn popping up of something less than love, take those, grab them, and really look at them and question, wow, that's still what I think about myself. Is that what I want to hold in front of God's only experience of that I'm loved? And, it's like part of us feels like God doesn't, hasn't come down and grabbed me and taken me home like he should. But that's because I won't let him take me home, because I believe that I'm not worthy of being taken home yet. So I need to examine what's going on in me so that I can clear off that slate, clear off the slate so I can acknowledge what I really am. But I can't do it when I'm too afraid. So I have to be very gentle with myself in the process. But in my experience, as we have that little willingness and we keep choosing, slowly our ability to catch those moments begins to happen a lot faster. And we don't fall in the hole, and we don't let it take us for the ride like it used to take us as much. And we can quickly bring it back to that center of, all right, here you go. I give this to you. I'm not going to try to figure it out this time, or hate my brother for another 10 years before I even start asking for healing. But that's a process, and it's a process that from where we are sitting is not the easiest process, because we're so addicted. It's like we go to the doctor and they hit you on the knee, your leg is going to kick. It's a no-brainer. It's a good sign you're a healthy body. Well, a good sign of a healthy ego is respond, and not respond from love, respond from attack, because it's kill or be killed. And when we can even become aware that I just responded out of something other than love without judging or attacking ourselves, that's even big. Because before we were brain dead, things just happened. It was just like bam, 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 bam. There was no conscious awareness of anything. And even just becoming slightly conscious of what's going on is a big step in the direction of healing. And we just go back and forth and back and forth. And one day we won't have to go back and forth. So it's almost 5 o'clock. So I just thought maybe we'd take another 5 minutes before I won't go on any further, of if anybody has any comments or anything they want to say. And then 5 minutes, we'll say the ending prayer, and I'll stay on the line for a little while if anybody else wants to talk. So does anybody have any comments or anything? Everybody's so complete today. Oh, Vince?
Yeah, I had a question for Zita, actually.
Sure.
She mentioned something, and I just wanted to write it down, but I didn't get enough of it. She said expectations are premeditated something, and I wanted to write that down, and I lost my thought on what she said.
Are you still online, Zita? Maybe she went off the line.
Not okay. I'll have to get back to her.
I can text her and I'll email.
I got it.
Oh, there she is. Beautiful. That was a good line, by the way.
I liked it.
Did somebody else?
She was saying resentments.
Yes.
Oh, premeditated resentments. That's right. Okay, thank you.
Right. And we don't know we've premeditated all these resentments, but we've really, literally, from the perspective of the Course, have premeditated all these resentments. We've not only premeditated them, we put them in place so that we would have them so we could play the part of an innocent victim. And keep remembering, you cannot have an innocent victim without a perpetrator. I need my people to come over and disturb my peace. Not as Mary Ann, I don't want that. But as the way it's set up, we definitely want it. Anyone else? All right. we don't want any more, we had a lot today, I know. All right, I'm going to mute you while I say the prayer, and then we will unmute you and we will. Yeah. All right. So everybody take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, in which there are no illusions and where none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. Let us not wander into temptation, for the temptation of the Son of God is not your will. And let us receive only what you have given, and accept with this into the minds which you created and which you love. Amen.
Give that up, honey.
Okay, so any